Hello and welcome to the Daily Royal. My name is Shelby and I have been a royal watcher for the past 10 years. In this podcast, I talk about the daily events of 7 of the European monarchies. So I talk about Belgium, the UK, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, and Sweden. I upload Monday through Friday with occasional bonus episodes here and there. Today we are going to be talking about all of the events from Tuesday, May 25th of 2021. You guys, today was, I think, probably the calmest day of the year, or of the week. It's Tuesday, I know, but, a couple of things that, I missaid yesterday, which I didn't missay, I just messed up. So we'll cover those in the countries that they refer to. I'm not gonna lie, this Scotland tour, I love it, don't get me wrong, but we're on day 5 and it feels like we're on day 1,000, so that's a bit of a interesting thing. I'm just kind of over it, or it's not really that I'm over it, it's I'm so ready for them to go to St. Andrews that I'm just, can we get on with the rest of it, please? That's where I'm at. Okay, so those are my things that I have to say, before we get really started. So we are going to jump in and start with the Belgian royal family now. In Belgium, we had one event kind of shared publicly on social media, and then the event from yesterday that I already talked about was shared on social media, and then there was something else. Okay, so today, King Philippe held an audience with the president of, I believe it's the Socialist Party in, the Belgian federal government. So this will make sense if you're from a European country, but it doesn't if you're from the US. Because when I talk about a president of a party, that doesn't make a lot of sense. It does to me now because I've been doing this for over a year, coming up on a year and a half, and I am very in tune with Spanish politics because I want to move to Spain in the next few years. So I'm very aware of what's happening kind of on the ground in that country. So I get this a little bit, but I'm still definitely, I don't live in this system. I don't completely understand it. But the president of the party is someone who serves in the federal level of the government, as a member of parliament, and they are then in charge, they're the leader of their party. So, that kind of makes sense to us Americans. So, currently, Joe Biden is the leader of the Democratic Party, and Donald Trump, because he is the former president and former candidate for the Republican Party, is technically the head of the GOP, kind of. There's also, a party chair who is also kind of in charge, because from where I'm standing, Donald Trump, no longer really exists. I don't play into his media game, though. So, obviously, that's a long-winded way of saying he met with the leader of parliament, who is also the president of the Socialist Party in Belgium. No idea what it was about. Anyway, remember how yesterday I said there was someone in the royal box with Queen Mathilde, but the split second that I saw, I didn't see who it was? Turns out it was King Philippe, and I'm a dork. So I just briefly rewatched the second that I missed, and it just happened to be when I tuned into the live stream, he had turned his head, and so I couldn't see, and then and then they panned away from the royal box. So because it was just a quick second, I didn't see who it was. So anyway, the Belgian royal house released the pictures today. And now I know. And it's hilarious, and I'm a dork. So that was day 1. Tonight was night 2 of the Queen Elizabeth Music Competition finals. Queen Mathilde was there. Tonight she was alone. I actually rewatched a little bit of the live stream to see who was in the royal box, and it was just her. At least that's how she came in. I didn't watch the whole thing, but anyway, but nothing has been shared officially from the Belgian royal household yet on that. But I'm sure it's coming. You guys, I'm a dork, and I just totally either forgot what King Philippe looked like or was not expecting it to be him. I don't know. I'm a dork. So we'll see who shows up for the rest of the week. I'll try and pay some attention this time around. There's finals every night, so the only night that I probably will not watch is Friday. I'll rewatch it when I record for Sunday, but just so you all know. Okay, so that's what was going on in Belgium, and now we are going to go to the UK. In the UK, there were a couple of different public events happening. So first, today, the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall took on engagements in the city of Coventry, which has been named the 2021 City of Culture of the UK. So they visited quite a few things. Together, they visited the Cathedral of Coventry and the Herbert Art Gallery and Museum. And then, as is kind of expected and normal for when they do day-long engagements like this, where they're visiting lots of different places in a different city, they split their agenda to kind of focus on their own interests a little bit, and also so that's what Camilla does. She'll focus on more of her interests, and Charles will kind of focus on everything, but he did visit a couple of patronages and also just some more, I don't know. Anyway, so Charles visited the Canal River Trust in Coventry. He met with Indian representatives of the British Asian Trust who have been working on the, I think it's Oxygen for India campaign that the British Asian Trust has been working on, that Charles is I think he's patron of the British Asian Trust. And donated a hefty sum of money to this charity campaign because, India was and still needs resources to battle their particular situation of COVID. And then he also visited the organization, the Almshouse Association. And Camilla, always the book lover, visited the Coventry Central Library. So that is what was going on with the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall. And then we go to the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, who were on day 5 of the visit to Scotland during the Church of Scotland General Assembly. So I mentioned this at the top. I'm not over this tour. I want to be very specific. I am very much enjoying it. However, I think it's hard to follow. So I really like a lot of the new strategies. There's a new social media manager for Kensington. So they have a new social media manager who is doing a wonderful job on some things. Instagram and Twitter, captions and the tweets that go with the videos that they are sharing just aren't great. The captions actually are not helpful. And look, I obviously run my own social media stuff for this podcast, and I know how difficult it can be. I'm always struck between sharing more versus sharing less. Like, less is easier to read, but gives you no detail. And more is like, you're not going to hit read more on the Instagram. You're not going to do it. Like, and I know this, but I always think like, okay, well, let me have more information, even if they're not reading it. And I try to make the first sentence of my caption as descriptive as possible without being too long. But it's really hard to do that. And so I just wish they would share more. And also, they stopped sharing a good amount of photos. So it's now all video based, which a part of me likes. I like watching them. But I now, and this is just like, you know, kind of a personal thing, kind of a behind the curtains of the podcast, but like, I have to rely on royal reporters and different sources than I used to for photos and also descriptions of what were happening. And so now I'm running into a few more, like, not issues, like that's not a problem, but it could become a problem of copyright. Because the pictures that I am sometimes using do not always come from an open source. So, challenge? Yes. Working through it. You know, it's kind of this thing of, okay, how do I want to go about this? Are they going to change it up when they get enough feedback, or is this how it is now until we find a new social media manager? I don't know. So just talking about this tour has like kind of become really stressful. So anyway, day 5, today they visited the Orkney Islands, which is north. I feel weird calling this the mainland of Scotland because Scotland itself is an island. But north of the island of like the traditional, what we think of as Scotland, there's some islands up there called the Orkney Islands. So they opened a new NHS hospital up there, and then visited with residents in the area to talk about the past year. And then they also visited the European Marine Energy Center. So, using hydropower from, I think it's an ocean or a sea. I really don't know. Also, I don't always know the difference. I mean, I do. I know there is a difference between an ocean and a sea, but I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know. I can't articulate it enough. So they also visited that and interacted with some kids, and that was lovely. It's stressful now. Everything, it's hard because it's like, I don't want to feel like I'm complaining, because I'm not. Like, it's still fine. It's just an additional step that I wasn't quite ready to have to do because I have time constraints on my life because I have another job, right? So, like, I don't know. It's just a lot this week. And last week when this was going on too. So, that is what was going on for the British royal family. I am going to check the court circular. I've been checking for this, like, all day, and they haven't updated the court circular. I don't know what's going on. Obviously, there should be a court circular for today. Here we go. It was updated 15 minutes ago, which is about when I started recording. So today, they haven't shared this, but I don't think. I'll have to check again. Queen Elizabeth today received the credentials from the new ambassador from Cambodia and the Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, in what I'm sure is that virtual, via video link. So in that virtual ceremony, and then at Clarence House, we have the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall visited all of their things in Coventry. I'm just kind of checking to make sure. Okay, and then in Scotland, Yep, the European Marine Energy Center. Okay, so everything that we talked about is on the court circular, except I don't think they shared publicly the ambassadors. Maybe they did and I missed it. I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't ever think I went to the royal family Twitter account today. So let's just take a quick look, shall we? Nope. Oh, wait, there it is. Okay. Yeah, there it was. It was at... Oh, wow. How did I miss this? It was at like 10 a.m. They shared it. Anyway. So that was today. I just missed it in their tweet stream. It was a lot on Twitter today. So with that, we are going to go ahead and move on to Denmark. In Denmark, there were a couple of different events today. So first, we have Queen Margrethe attended a church service to celebrate the 50th anniversary of what I have decided, based on the information shared, is the 50th anniversary of, like, the priesthood for armed services. So, like, in the U.S., we call them chaplains. They're like Army chaplains and Navy chaplains, and they are assigned to, they are enlisted military or military officers who are also religious in nature and have gone through seminary training and are members of the clergy. And so then they serve in a religious capacity within the military as well. And so I think that's what this is talking about, because it seems silly to only have armed forces for 50th anniversary, for 50 years, even in Denmark. Like, there was a whole war 26 years before that, that would have been requiring, you know, some sort of armed forces, but that's what it was described as, was like 50th anniversary of the armed services, but like, there's no way that that's right. Even in a wonderful country like Denmark, they would have had to have some sort of armed service during the war. I don't know. Anyway, so she attended a church service for that, I think. And then also today, Crown Prince Frederik gave the opening speech for, what was it called? The Global Food Talks, which is hosted by an organization called Food Nation, which is a patronage of Crown Prince Frederik. So, again, just not a lot of detail shared, and sometimes, you know, the Danish royal house is really good with detail, and sometimes they're not. And this goes for Norway too. Like, Norway does this. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have started doing this. And the Netherlands do it too, like, where they go through spurts, like, maybe whoever does the normal social media, like, takes a break or something, and, at least in Denmark, and things change a little bit, so there wasn't a ton of information shared. There wasn't any, you know, with the Queen Margrethe event, there wasn't any clarifying information, just, like, not a lot of detail given, which is fine. I mean, this doesn't always need detail, right? But, like, things like a royal tour need detail. I need to be able to go event by event and tell you not every necessarily thing, but I would like to know everything for myself, and then I can pick through what's really important and what's not. Like, really important to share, and others I just mentioned. So, I don't know. It's a continuous process. So that's where we were at with Denmark today. So now we are going to move over to the Netherlands. Netherlands, there were 3 events. Really, only 2 of them were like publicly shared, and then everything else was on the website. Or the other one, not everything else, it was just one other event. So this morning, King Willem-Alexander swore in the new Secretary of State for Economic Affairs and Climate Policy. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what happened. No other details. And then King Willem-Alexander also today visited a COVID specialized, that's the word, not specified, specialized rehabilitation center for patients who recovered from COVID but still like need assistance. So the after effects of COVID are different for everybody. You still can almost not convince me that I didn't have COVID back in September because I have this lingering cough that will just not go away ever. But I was tested negative, so whatever. And now I'm vaccinated, so whatever, it's fine. But there were, obviously, like, there are people who almost die and then are on a vent and, like, not breathing for themselves and not moving for so long because they're in a hospital bed. And so there are recovery centers for people that have that now specialized form of care that they need. So he visited one of those today, so he was able to speak with recovering patients as well as staff of the rehab center who have gone through like this now year and some months working on this specialized care. So that was his event. And then also today, Queen Maxima visited a business school in Rotterdam, focusing on entrepreneurship opportunities that are taught in the school, as well as the way the school connects students with local businesses for after education employment, because obviously that's a huge piece. So there are, I would say the majority of European countries have a hard time, I think this may be everywhere, but specifically it seems to be a like crisis in Europe, have a hard time hiring young people. And that can be due to like a ton of different things, right? Like young people may not want to stay in the country, especially if you're in the EU. Like, you may want to go somewhere else because you really can as a citizen of the EU. So you're able to do different things like that. And that seems to be some of the problem. Just a general attitude of not wanting to work for a company and wanting to work for yourself. Hi, that's me. That's what I have. That's where I'm at, like, on this employable spectrum. I don't want to work for other people. I want to do things I want to work for myself and create my own life, and not have my life be dictated by my boss and my job. And then there's just the generic, like, young people are lazy conversation, which may have some value too. And so schools like this have to make, and I think they should be anyway, but making an effort to connect students with employers, to kind of create a funnel, where the school works closely with the business, so the business knows that they're getting good students, and then they're hired in, and hopefully a really livable wage and all those things. So, that is what she was doing at that event. These were all pop-up events, like, none of them were scheduled, which is sad. I miss knowing ahead of time what's going on. You guys, it's so funny, like, right before the pandemic, I had really started, like, getting a grip on, like, what was coming and what was happening. I'm sorry, my dog just, like, had a little episode moment. Like, I had a calendar of, like, okay, here are the events that are coming, and then there were, like, a few pop-up events every now and then, but not a ton. And then the pandemic happened, and then it just went all radio silent. So I was like, well, okay. And so then the same thing kind of happened during the summer when things had like relaxed COVID-wise a little bit last year. And then like second wave in Europe hit. And so things went down again. But anyway, so I haven't even like tried that again because I know there's so many of these pop-up things and they do it so people don't gather. So like they will announce, they just started announcing some of the events for the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge ahead of time. They have pretty much consistently since I think September they brought this back for the Spanish royal household, and crowds do gather in Spain. But Spain's handling of the pandemic is just different. It's whatever it is. It's everyone wears their face masks. They got their problem under control. Their state of alarm is finally done. It just, Spain is a different world. Even if I want to go there, it's still just its own special little place. So anyway, that is, someday I hope they bring pre-announced engagements back. They have some going on in the Netherlands. Like there's a big thing, I think it's on Thursday, that's like really exciting, but there isn't a lot pre-announced still. So that is what was going on in the Netherlands. We're skipping Norway and Spain because there was nothing in either of those countries. And we are going to very briefly talk about the events in Sweden. In Sweden, there were 3 events today. Again, none of them had like a huge amount of information shared. One of them, there was a video, but it's in Swedish, so I just don't know what happened. Okay, so today, King Carl Gustaf, Queen Sylvia, Crown Princess Victoria, and Prince Daniel all took part in a digital meeting with the Swedish Minister for Labour. This is an ongoing series. They're meeting with different ministers of the cabinet to talk about different facets of the Swedish environment around COVID. So obviously, Labour is going to be focused more on work environments and employers and employees and things like that. And then also today, Queen Sylvia participated in a couple of different events. So she took part in an annual meeting, digitally of course, of the European Association of Pediatric Cardiology. And then she also took part in the Dementia Forum, and this is where she gave the opening address, but I don't know what she said, I don't think. And so that is what was going on in Sweden today. Again, just not a ton of details shared because their sharing of information has just gone downhill very quickly. Things on Facebook are not getting posted till days later. I've pretty much already talked about this. I'm no longer going back in time with Sweden because it doesn't make sense to anymore. To go back so many days. Like, for things like King Felipe's trip in the past couple of days, if I'm missing something because I've already recorded and I knew something was going to happen, that's more on me, because it is feasible for me to wait until the end of the day to record. I don't, because I try and have somewhat of a life. I don't really, but I try. And then for things like today with Belgium where I messed up yesterday, yeah, I'm going to talk about that still. I wouldn't have talked about the pictures had I not mistakenly said I don't know who was with her when it was the king. Jeez, I'm still mad at myself about that. So anyway, I'm no longer going back in time for Sweden. It just doesn't work for me anymore. If they don't share things, they don't share things, and neither do I. So that's where I'm at. I'm hardline on that. So that is what was going on today. A quiet day, but could have been busy if, I don't know. It was a weird day. And I think the rest of the week is going to get substantially busier as we go on, both like royal wise, me wise, like things are just kind of crazy this week. In general, luckily for me, most of my stuff is happening Friday or Saturday, so that's not really going to impact this. Just my mental headspace is impacted. So that is a little bit of a look ahead. I'm going to end this episode here. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Please check out all the things, thedailyroyal.com, The Daily Royal on Instagram, like and review this podcast, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Have a fantastic Wednesday. Bye.